No one can steal what's mine, especially not with cheap tricks. That was my first thought. Not exactly a sweet sentiment, I know, but let me tell you, when you wake up to find you're suddenly living inside a cheesy romance novel, as the so-called villainess, no less, your priorities shift. One minute, I was raging at an author, typing out a 100-word rant about how a real heiress would handle things. The next, I was her. Scarlett Kingston, beautiful, loaded, and with a reputation for being, well, a force of nature. And if I was going to be the villain, I was going to be the best damn one this story had ever seen. Like that time when I spotted Lily Chen, the resident damsel in distress, sniffling dramatically. Did I offer comfort? A tissue? Please. I simply raised my voice, and with the kind of icy calm that could freeze a volcano, I told her to get lost. And when my supposed fiancé, Ethan Miller, came charging over, demanding an explanation, another swift, unapologetic dismissal. He could get lost too. This wasn't going to be your typical Cinderella story. This was my story, and I was about to rewrite every single page. It all started quite innocently, or so I thought. My friend, Chloe Davis, was gossiping about a new transfer student, fresh from a humble background. I was indulging in my usual afternoon tea at the Kingston estate, entirely unconcerned. But the reactions from the rest of the privileged crowd around me were, well, loud. Really? A commoner? A girl with a perfectly made-up face gasped, her voice dripping with disdain. Since when did Manchester Academy start accepting those kinds of people? Chloe, always the well-informed one, chimed in. Apparently, she's brilliant. And, get this, she's the one who saved Ethan Miller on the Harbor Bridge last month, so he vouched for her transfer. The moment the words left Chloe's lips, every single eye in the room swiveled to me. Ethan Miller, my fiancé by name, the male lead of the novel I'd read, was from a family just as prominent as mine. Honestly, when I first devoured that ridiculous billionaire's obsessive love novel, I couldn't fathom why the original villainess, stunning, proud, and truly powerful, would waste her time on such a wishy-washy, principled until it's inconvenient male lead. And how on earth could she lose so spectacularly to such a fragile goody-two-shoes heroine? It infuriated me so much, I had practically screamed at the author in the comments section, demanding they understand what a true heiress was like. Little did I know, I was about to get a very personal lesson. After that angry online tirade, I drifted off to sleep, only to wake up in the very body of the villainess I'd so vehemently criticized. The irony wasn't lost on me. Remembering the cascade of annoyances that were about to unfold according to the plot, I calmly reapplied my lipstick, stood up, and walked out without a backward glance. I knew my first encounter with the female lead was coming, but I didn't expect it to be quite so messy. There she was, a waif-like girl frozen in front of Ethan Miller, who was sporting a fresh coffee stain on his pristine uniform. Chloe, who was holding my bag, just stared in open-mouthed confusion. This was my first time actually seeing my fiancé in person. When I'd transmigrated, he was in a coma from a car accident. Guess he recovered quickly, huh? Male lead privileges, I suppose. Not a bad face, I'll give him that. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Lily stammered, her voice trembling. She fumbled in her bag for tissues, trying to wipe the stain. My eyes were full of derision. Ethan, hearing me, frowned and took a step back, then looked up, meeting my cool gaze. Lily also turned, and that's when I really took her in. Pale skin, watery eyes that made her already wan face seem even more fragile and pitiful. I didn't bother lingering. I simply glided past the coffee spill, my heels barely touching the ground as I headed for class. But honestly, the smell of that coffee, ugh, so cheap, just like some people. And Ethan had already given her too much attention. Anyone else would have been expelled on the spot. Holly Young, one of the original villainess's few friends, meticulously adjusted her freshly manicured nails. Didn't you see that new transfer student? She's got the whole Cinderella script going on. Aren't you worried about your fiancé? There was a hint of glee in her voice. If I recall correctly, I interjected, glancing at her, she's sitting next to your fiancé now. What? Holly shot up, startled. I told him no girl was allowed to sit next to him. I listened to her heels click frantically as she scrambled out. A small, satisfied smile played on my lips. For the next few days, I didn't lift a finger to interfere with their little romance. When Lily was cornered by some bullies, Ethan saved her. When she was teased for her rustic accent, he stepped in to help her learn English. Slowly, rumors about Ethan and the new girl began to spread throughout the school. Everyone was waiting for my reaction, the official fiancé. But before I even had a chance to speak, my so-called friends couldn't help but stir the pot, harassing Lily a few times. The third time Lily was cornered in the restroom, Ethan finally found her. And now he was actually lecturing me, his fiancé, all for the sake of some commoner. Manchester Academy is a microcosm of wealth and power. Those at the top always enjoy privileges, like this private lounge. Of course, lounges have their own hierarchy too. I leaned back in my plush chair, eyes closed, enjoying the comfort while Ethan's cold voice echoed, as if he'd just remembered the existence of our engagement. His face was a little strained. You don't need to target her like this. I opened my eyes, a short, sharp laugh escaping my lips. What is she, exactly? She didn't do anything to you, even if you don't like. I cut him off. No, I despise both of you equally, I stated calmly, my voice cold. And this isn't the place for you. Get out. The rumor that Ethan Miller had argued with me over Lily Chen spread like wildfire. I just scoffed. Did I look like the kind of person who'd squabble with him? Chloe was silent for a second, then nodded. She was about to say something when her eyes suddenly widened, staring at the doorway. I followed her gaze, and there she was, Lily Chen. She looked like she'd gathered all her courage, her face anxious, biting her lip. Ignoring the sudden hush in the room, she walked right up to my desk. "Student Scarlett," she began, her voice trembling. "I know you're upset with Ethan, but this is really hard for him, too. He's a good person. He just wants to help me. Ethan and we're not what you think. If I've done anything to upset you, I'm truly sorry." Then she placed a small, neatly wrapped box of homemade pie in front of me. "This is pie I made myself. I hope you'll accept it." I glanced indifferently at the box, not really paying attention to her words. It was only when I saw my favorite book lying under the box, smeared with grease, that I slowly looked up. "Are you provoking me?" I lowered my eyes, then raised them again, my gaze filled with disdain. Lily stumbled backward, the box landing with a soft thud, making her look incredibly clumsy. She stared at me, indignant, but quickly lowered her head when she met my overwhelming gaze. "Didn't Ethan tell you not to mess with me?" I smirked, looking down at her as she awkwardly bent to pick up the scattered pie. Holly, enjoying the show, even pulled her boyfriend, Chad Thompson, closer. "Idiot," she sneered, her voice carrying a mocking tone. "That pie probably isn't even worth the tissue I just gave Miss Scarlett. The nerve, trying to feed Miss Scarlett that." Chloe clicked her tongue in amazement. It was her first time witnessing such a spectacle. All the students in my class were children of privilege, and their eyes were sharper than anyone else's. Everyone understood exactly what Lily Chen was trying to do. They quickly joined in, mercilessly mocking her. Lily trembled, as if she had suffered the greatest humiliation of her life. She quickly gathered the pie and, covering her face, ran away. After that, Lily didn't dare to loiter around me anymore. Perhaps it was because of my warning in the lounge. Ethan also didn't dare to speak up for her, saving me quite a bit of trouble. But with the engagement, meeting was unavoidable. So, when my mother took me to a high-end Western restaurant, I wasn't surprised to see the woman sitting opposite her, Ethan's mother, a very well-preserved socialite. The moment she saw me, she greeted me warmly, then gently scolded her son. "Ethan, why aren't you greeting Daisy properly?" I smiled sweetly, my voice honeyed. "It's fine, Auntie Miller. Ethan is a man of few words. I'll help you discipline him." Both of our parents were seasoned socialites. Even though Ethan and I barely exchanged words, the atmosphere wasn't bad. I did, however, raise an eyebrow slightly, looking towards the distant figure of a girl standing frozen, holding a tray of food. I feigned confusion, my voice a delicate whine. "Auntie Miller, I'm a little hungry." Auntie Miller, of course, indulged me. She immediately turned and called over a nearby server. Lily Chen slowly approached, her face stiff. Clearly, she hadn't expected to see me here. Ethan, too, was momentarily stunned. "Hasn't the food been prepared yet?" Auntie Miller asked. Seeing Lily's silence, she frowned. "Didn't you hear me?" Lily, startled, quickly apologized. The restaurant manager rushed over, pulling her aside. "Sorry, excuse us. This is our intern. She's still new to the job." I narrowed my eyes and smiled. "Auntie," I said, "she's my classmate." "Daisy Kingston." Ethan immediately cut me off. I blinked innocently. "What? Isn't she your friend?" Auntie Miller, hearing this, looked at her son. Though her face remained gentle, her eyes had darkened slightly. After dinner, Auntie Miller told Ethan to take me to the airport to pick up my older brother returning from abroad. I racked my brain for a moment, then remembered who this brother was. William Kingston, my adoptive brother, grew up and studied overseas. In the original novel, he never returned. Perhaps my presence had created a butterfly effect. I leaned lazily back in my seat, watching Ethan's tense face, and suddenly asked, "Do you like her?" Seeing his silence, I let out a light laugh. "Coward." When I finally met my nominal brother, I was genuinely taken aback for a second. The man had soft, neatly styled black hair, eyes as deep as night, and refined eyebrows. His aura was as cool as freshly fallen snow. Even with his elegant, aristocratic bearing, he couldn't hide a distant, detached air. Compared to him, Ethan was completely overshadowed. I tossed my hair back, standing still, no intention of helping him with his luggage. Seeing Ethan also motionless, I didn't hesitate to order him around. "Aren't you going to get the luggage?" Ethan, helpless against me, had no choice but to go. Only then did William truly look at me. The bright lights of the airport reflected on my long, soft hair, highlighting my exquisitely made-up face. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if he was about to say something cutting, but then he unexpectedly spoke. "Long time no see. You look more beautiful." I was stunned for a second, but felt immensely satisfied. Then I strode towards him, a faint, delicate scent wafting past his nose. William's steps faltered almost imperceptibly, and the smile on his lips deepened. The Manchester Christmas Gala was the grandest event of the year. The school didn't just invest heavily in the organization, the students also had to pour their efforts into preparations. I had been the main MC for this party for 5 years straight, from middle school to high school, and this year was no exception. Manchester set incredibly high standards for its MCs. Fluent English was just a basic requirement. More important were charisma, appearance, and social standing. I was always the top choice. Of course, that was obvious. So, when the MC selection announcement was posted, no one even bothered to pay attention. Holly even pouted. "Our school loves to make a show of it. You've been the MC for years. Why even bother with auditions?" I didn't care either. I just calmly turned up the volume on my English pronunciation practice recording in my earphones. Then I picked up a registration form. "What are you getting that for?" Holly asked, confused. "I like crushing people in every aspect," I replied casually, dropping the form into my bag. "Too arrogant, aren't you?" As she finished speaking, Chloe, seemingly out of nowhere, popped up with hot news. "I heard someone registered for Lily Chen." Holly smeared. What's she thinking? Does she think a few English lessons from Ethan Miller are enough to beat Scarlett Kingston? I pulled my hair back into a neat bun, a slow smile curving my lips. Just like the never say die female lead trope, Lily Chen was determined to participate in the auditions. She had improved significantly. Her pronunciation was much more fluent, but when she saw me, she still faltered. Ethan was with her, and in the dim light, he even carefully mouthed answers to her. It seemed his mother's previous warning wasn't enough to deter him. I didn't bother with them, as I had more important things to focus on. I took these events very seriously, even when I was certain to win. Stepping onto a stage was second nature to me. Frankly, while Lily Chen was still learning her ABCs, my mother had already sent me abroad for English immersion. A round of thunderous applause erupted as I finished my performance. The familiar judges nodded in satisfaction. I was in a good mood, even generously inviting Holly for afternoon tea. But I didn't expect the world to be so small that I'd run into those two on the way home. Lily Chen was still in her simple white shirt and jeans, but her face was tear-streaked and her voice was choked with sobs. "I tried my best. I'm sorry." Ethan's voice was gentle as he carefully wiped her tears. "You don't need to apologize. You did great." "My mom said she wanted to see me perform." Lily sniffled, her face flushed red as she leaned into his embrace. "I really wanted to be chosen as MC to make her proud. She's worked so hard." He gently patted her back. "It's okay." I mentally cursed my bad luck, but I was never one to go out of my way for anyone. This road led to my home. It was no big deal to walk past them. I was about to continue when I heard a soft chuckle behind me. I turned to see William Kingston. "It seems your fiancé isn't very loyal, is he?" he said, a smile playing on his lips, yet his eyes were unreadable. I lifted my chin slightly, calmly replying, "So what? He's not worthy of me." "No one is worthy of you," William said concisely. I didn't stop, continuing to walk past the embracing couple. I originally thought I had been patient enough with these two, but when I saw Lily Chen's name on the MC list, I couldn't help but slam my pen down on the desk with a sharp clack. Chloe flinched, stepping back a few paces, muttering, "The princess is about to go into hunting mode." I immediately thought of the scene I'd witnessed just a few days ago, them whispering on the street. A cold smirk played on my lips. All right, Ethan Miller dared to pull this stunt right in front of me? Without hesitation, I stormed out of the classroom, heading straight for Lily Chen's homeroom. Along the way, countless eyes followed me. I quickly reached her classroom door, casually pulling a student aside. "Where's Lily Chen?" "At the gym." Even better, same class as Ethan Miller. I scanned the gym, not seeing him, but spotting Lily Chen chatting with a half-French friend. She was smiling brightly, as if she'd just heard something wonderful. Well, of course, with just 2 tiers, she had managed to get the MC position I'd held for 5 years straight. How could she not be happy? I watched silently, finally letting out a disdainful smile. Then, without hesitation, I strode straight towards them. The gym, which had been buzzing with noise, fell silent the moment I stepped in. Curiosity, worry, anticipation, all eyes were fixed on me. The funny thing is, I hadn't even gotten close when Lily Chen's friend, the one named Jolene DuPont, who was supposed to be the main character's best friend in the original novel, a half-French girl, blocked my path. She stood in front of me, looking protective of her friend. She even spoke in French, sarcastically. "What are you going to do? Bully Lily again? Oh, please." I looked at her coldly. Then I opened my mouth, a fluent stream of French pouring out. "Who do you think you are, speaking to me like that?" Without waiting for her reaction, I brushed past her. Lily Chen was still sitting on the steps behind. How could I let her sit there comfortably? I stepped up, my voice sharp, forcing her to meet her eyes. She winced, her eyes immediately reddening. "Scarlett Kingston, what are you doing?" I leaned in close, my voice a low, chilling whisper. "Miss Chen, do I need to remind you? The school forced me to be the MC. I had no choice." Hearing this, I suddenly burst out laughing. I stepped back, watching her clutch her head, trying to hold back tears as she stumbled to her feet. "Forced you?" I smirked, my tone full of ridicule. "Based on your clumsy pronunciation? Based on your awkward stage presence? Or is it?" I slowly leaned closer to her ear, speaking coldly. "Based on the fact that you were just hugging him on that little road the other day?" "Don't talk nonsense," Lily Chen suddenly shrieked, her voice cracking with fear.
My voice cut through her protests. "You think you can challenge me right here in school?" she stammered, covering her face and trembling. I lazily glanced at her, calmly saying, "Do you deserve to contend with me?" "Scarlett Kingston!" Ethan Miller's voice boomed from the gym entrance. He strode over, his voice filled with rage, as if he feared that if he was a second too slow, Lily Chen would face my wrath again. I calmly looked up at him. At that exact moment, I caught sight of someone holding a phone, recording everything. I wasn't in a hurry. I just looked at her and smiled faintly. "What are you filming?" My voice was lazy but sharp, making her flinch and drop her phone to the ground. I turned to Ethan Miller. Without saying another word, I met his gaze, my eyes piercing. The entire gym instantly fell silent. Every eye was fixed on me. No one dared to believe that I would actually confront him like this. I maintained my proud demeanor, my voice light but full of pressure. "Shut up. Who do you think you're talking to?" Ethan Miller stared at me, stunned, his face changing colors. I continued coldly. "No one can steal my things, especially not using those dirty tactics. I advise you, Ethan, before I get so angry that I make a big deal of this, think carefully. I don't mind putting you in your place again." With that, I didn't spare him another glance and strode away. As I passed Lily Chen, who was crying with her face covered, I paused. My voice was faint but incredibly cold. "If you don't want to cause any more trouble, then keep your foolish ideas to yourself." My high heels might have hurt my feet, but when the sound of them echoed throughout the gym, making everyone hold their breath, I had to admit the feeling was incredibly exhilarating. After that whole debacle, Chloe clicked her tongue and remarked, "A bunch of clueless fools. They don't know that when Miss Kingston gets mad, even dogs run for cover." But no one dared to criticize me, because in Manchester Academy, if there was a hierarchy, I was definitely at the very top. It seemed the original villainess was just too humble, letting these nobodies walk all over her. Holly, sitting next to me, applying her eyeliner, casually asked, "Hey, for the Christmas party, you need a dance partner. You always went with Ethan. Who are you going to invite this year?" I pondered for a moment.
A graceful, cold figure suddenly appeared in my mind. "My dance partner, William Kingston," I said slowly. He looked up at me. Half an hour earlier, I had cornered him right outside his company building. That's why we were here now. Despite studying abroad for many years, his company had steadily grown, making him one of the most prominent young talents in the business world. But I didn't care about that. It was simply that my dance partner had to be better looking than Ethan Miller. This nominal brother of mine seemed like a perfect fit. "Sounds interesting," he said, pausing for a moment. "I'm not going." "Are you kidding me?" I shot back. He seemed to really enjoy seeing me annoyed, the corners of his lips curving up, his eyes clearly showing amusement. "I'm a successful businessman. You want to invite me to be your dance partner? Don't you think there should be a price?" I sighed in relief. As long as it could be solved with money, it wasn't a problem. "How much do you want?" "Who said I need money?" He put down his knife and fork, lacing his hands in front of him. His voice was slow. "You also have to attend a party with me. How about that?" I happily agreed to William's request. A few days later, he came to pick me up for my hair and makeup appointment. I wore a long wine-red silk gown, and, arm in arm with the man in a black suit, I walked into the ballroom. Everyone's eyes immediately fell on me. I smiled slightly, lowering my voice. "Am I too beautiful today?" William gently swirled his wine glass, the light reflecting on the clear crystal. His voice was low and steady. "Aren't you always beautiful?" He seemed to have a very high social standing, as many prominent figures in the business world actively came to greet him. He always maintained a gentle but distant smile, handling interactions with incredible finesse. I scanned the room with boredom, suddenly spotting an unexpected face. Yes, Lily Chen was also there, and she was talking to a man. Daniel Sterling, the original villainess's best friend and the male supporting character in the novel, also a well-known figure in Manchester. According to the old plot, he accidentally met Lily when she was working part-time at a restaurant, and, wanting to escape a blind date, he used her as a shield. It seemed today was also part of their journey to develop feelings for each other. I frowned, glancing at Daniel's face. Not bad, but still miles behind the man next to me. I walked towards them. Lily Chen subconsciously touched her still slightly flushed face, her whole body shrinking back. But in the next second, her eyes suddenly lit up because the man next to me was simply outstanding. Daniel cheerfully called out to me, "Scarlett." I ignored Lily Chen, my gaze resting on Daniel. "Are you on a blind date?" At this, his expression stiffened. He grimaced. "My dad's driving me crazy, forcing me to meet some heiress or another. It's exhausting." I crossed my arms, lazily smiling. "So you're running away to hang out with this girl?" At this, he realized his actions were a bit thoughtless. I smirked, my voice sharp. "Are you dense?" With that, I turned and walked away. It was the night of the Christmas gala, and I was still the MC. I walked through the backstage area, looking at a long line of congratulatory flower arrangements of all styles. Holly was generous enough to send a whole row of bright red roses. Chloe brought over a microphone and whispered softly in my ear. A huge flower delivery just arrived at the back entrance. The style is really unusual. I asked indifferently, "Who sent it?" "We don't know, but Holly says that flower arrangement style is definitely from Corinne, a top-tier florist, very high class." I raised an eyebrow, a little curious. I looked around, unable to think of any high society lady who secretly adored Ethan Miller. After all, his mother was just a mistress. His status wasn't distinguished enough. "Excuse me, is Miss Scarlett Kingston here? Your flowers have arrived." I was stunned, looking at the most exquisite flower arrangement backstage. Exquisitely arranged cappuccino roses. I stood up and pulled out the card attached to the flowers. wishing the most distinguished princess of the Kingston family a successful performance, William Kingston. The dance party began. I scanned the crowd for William, but couldn't find him. I was about to call him when suddenly the entire ballroom erupted in chatter. I looked up and saw, right in the center, both Ethan Miller and Daniel Sterling extending their hands to Lily Chen. Her eyes were glistening, her face as if she couldn't believe it. One was the original villainess's childhood friend, and the other was my nominal fiancé. With this one gesture, Lily Chen had become the center of attention for the entire party. She secretly looked at me with pride in her eyes, seemingly waiting to see how I would react. I let out a soft, mocking laugh. No matter how hard she tried, all she would get were the things I could easily discard. Cinderella loses her magic after midnight, but a princess remains a princess forever. My beautiful lady, I'm late. Please, may I have the honor of this dance? As the crowd automatically parted, I turned around. William Kingston, in a high-end black suit, exuded a maturity and calmness that stood out far more than the other male students in the school. I looked at him silently. The entire ballroom gradually fell silent. I didn't answer immediately. I simply smiled faintly. Slowly, I placed my hand in his.
The next morning, the school forum was still flooded with news about last night's party. My name, Scarlett Kingston, was still at the top of the hot topics. Everyone was talking about the mysterious man who had appeared by my side. I left the chaotic crowd, heading to the restroom to fix my hair. Unexpectedly, I ran into Lily Chen. She hesitated for a moment, then finally couldn't help but speak. "Miss Kingston, I know that man is your brother. You still have feelings for Ethan, don't you?" I burst out laughing. "Who gave you the delusion that you understand me?" I gave her a look of utter disdain, my voice indifferent. "If you hadn't saved Ethan Miller that day, you wouldn't even have the right to stand in front of me and speak." I walked past her, about to open the door, when I felt her lunge towards me, as if trying to get my attention. I coldly brushed her hand away. "Ah!" Lily Chen stumbled, nearly falling to the ground. Just then, an urgent voice sounded. "Lily!" I turned around and saw the familiar scene, both Ethan Miller and Daniel Sterling rushing over. I just wasn't standing steadily," Lily Chen said, her eyes red, gently pulling Ethan's sleeve. Daniel frowned. "Scarlett, what's wrong with you? You've changed so much lately. I heard about what happened at school. You weren't like this before." I looked at him indifferently. "Are you saying that means you're assuming I did something to her?" Lily Chen immediately spoke up. "Miss Kingston didn't mean to, but the more she said, the more it sounded like I really had done something." Ethan Miller helped her up, his eyes darkening. "Scarlett Kingston, you've gone too far. From the beginning, you've been targeting Lily. What has she ever done to her?" I calmly adjusted my dress, replying coolly, "Ethan Miller, if you love her so much, why don't you go ask your mother to break off our engagement?" His expression immediately changed. I let out a cold laugh. "Isn't it because you don't dare? You can't give up everything for her, can you?" The tense atmosphere was broken by a deep, calm voice, too noisy. I turned around and saw William Kingston approaching. His eyes swept over Ethan Miller, his voice calm but full of pressure. I didn't know the Miller family treated a Kingston family member like this. Ethan immediately fell silent. I looked up, meeting his deep eyes. At that moment, I suddenly understood. This story had officially ended. After that day, the news of my broken engagement with Ethan Miller spread throughout high society. Mr. and Mrs. Miller even brought gifts to our home to apologize, but my mother was so furious, she called and yelled at my father, who was abroad. While the two families were discussing in the living room, Mrs. Miller pulled Ethan and me into the backyard, telling us to talk alone.
He looked at me with disbelief in his eyes. "Scarlett Kingston, you're going too far. What do you think you'll gain by breaking off our engagement?" I smiled faintly, my voice soft but full of mockery. "Ethan Miller, I never owed you anything. This engagement, from the moment you publicly showed intimacy with Lily Chen, became a joke. The Kingston family never trusts those who lack a sense of responsibility." He was speechless, unable to refute anything. With our engagement broken, Ethan Miller's life quickly plummeted. His father angrily scolded him, but there was nothing he could do. Mrs. Miller desperately sought other marriage prospects for him, but no family wanted to form an alliance with someone who had been so humiliatingly rejected. As for Lily Chen, no matter how much Ethan protected her, Mrs. Miller absolutely refused to allow her to set foot in the Miller household. One day, Holly looked at the exquisite box of pastries on the table. "Ethan Miller is truly ridiculous," she scoffed. "When you were engaged, he paid you no mind. Now that it's broken off, he's trying to win you over." I picked up the pastry box, casually tossing it to Chloe. I've known for a long time that Ethan Miller only loves himself, but Lily Chen, she just couldn't sit still. One day, she stormed straight up to me, her face full of anger. "Didn't you break off your engagement with Ethan? So why are you letting him keep treating me like this?" I lazily fiddled with a newly bought bracelet, not even bothering to look up. "Didn't you say you only saw him as a friend? So what are you angry about?" Her face turned pale. It was then that I slowly looked up at her, my gaze full of mockery. "Lily Chen, without him, you wouldn't even have the right to stand in front of me. This isn't your world. It never was." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. This story, finally, was over. A few months later, I moved in with William Kingston. He pushed open the door and saw me sprawled on the sofa, eyes glued to my phone screen. He raised an eyebrow. "What are you so engrossed in?" I didn't look up, just mungled, "Reading old stories." He walked over curiously, seeing the title "Billionaire's Obsessive Love" on the screen. A second later, he chuckled. "After dismantling the whole narrative, you still want to reread it?" I replied lazily, "Just checking to see how they're living now." He smiled faintly, sitting down next to me. His voice was deep and steady. "What was the ending?" I laughed softly, turning off my phone screen. "It doesn't matter anymore, because I am the real main character of my life."